it takes much less energy to be decent
Mm.
and kind and caring than it is to be a jerk.
People of the world, welcome back to Moral Marketing. Oh, it is a pleasure to be back. The humid air, life is good. I'm not saying it's without pain. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the structure of reality is hyper specific to your soul, which is to say that we are avatars. And what are we doing here? We're called to love each other. We're called to focus on something higher than ourselves. And the conversation that we're about to embark in today with the one and only Judith Briles is going to do exactly that. Who's she, you might be asking? Don't worry, I'll answer it for you. She's known as the book shepherd. She's an award-winning author, publishing expert, and book coach with decades of experience guiding authors through every step of the publishing process. Prior to us getting the ball rolling on the recording, Judith pulled out a book of hers, and it has the word God, I assume, with a capital G in it. What's that book about, Judith?
Mm,
Uh,
Actually, all caps, right?
whoa. Heyo.
You know, okay, it's really my memoir, and
Ooh, memoir.
memoir, and the title came from a sermon that was given after my son died. I've had,
Oh,
I've had
my,
two of my
yeah,
children killing.
right.
This is a 19-year-old, yeah,
Hmm.
and with 10 friends with him,
Yep,
and doing stupid kid stuff,
sure.
climbing things they shouldn't have been climbing.
Yep.
And I always loved the title. I
Mm.
always loved that title because when adversity hits, when tragedy hits, when bad doo-doo hits,
Hmm.
you always go in, why me? Why did this happen to me? And doing that kind of thing. So I come, I kept that title, and I've used it, and I do open the book on a story about Frank, and he died when he was 19, and he's a little boy and 5 years old, and he is consuming his lunch box sandwiches and everything across the street from our house. And I'm watching this kid devour it, and then he closes his lunchbox. He drags his friend Robin across the street to our house, opens the door, slams the lunchbox on the floor, and says, I have quit. I have quit, Mommy.
But what?
School is too long,
Huh.
it's too hard, and it's just not fair. Well, when bad stuff happens, you often feel that life is too long. It sure ain't fair.
Mm.
And it's just hard. It's just hard to get through this stuff. So that's what I open the book with. But I go through, I have a very roller coaster life. You could even be mercurial up and down.
Judith,
Um,
I
things.
have burning questions for you. Can I ask you a question?
Mhm. Mm.
So let's move forward under the understanding that this dear listener of ours, they know that they're suffering. They know that they're a soul,
Yep.
right? And we've got this thing called world peace, right? And the listener believes it's going to happen, believes that in their lifetime they can see world peace, as if by some miracle it is possible, and that the business community plays a role in that, right? Because
Mhm.
where do we spend almost all our time? Right? At work until you're retired, and that's lovely. But prior to, we're on the grind, right? And so these businesses out there, what what can they do? Right? Like what you know, because it's all profit. You know what I mean? Like it's all we're all let's and I own a business, I get it. Right. But what can an employee do to because it feels like what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to love your colleagues, love your clients? You're supposed to what can we do to bring about world peace from a business perspective?
Well, I think that one of the worlds that should be, and I tune into politics, and I was listening to a speech the other night, and the word caring just screamed out. And I think that businesses lack part of the caring route. They lack some elements of kindness. in there. And I think that if you're going towards, I mean, one of the things you don't know about me, Kellen, I was the um, speaking coach for Miss America for
Ooh,
8 years.
I like that. That's cool.
And always world peace.
Oh, you know what I mean. Let me run this by you. What do you think about this? All right, let's say you're at the grocery store and
Mm.
you got an app and it's the World Peace app, let's say, and you scan something and there's like an independent third party that rates or it shows like the nonprofit that a business is associated with, right? And so like there's one more factor when it comes to buying things. You've got like the price, the quality, and then you've got this like magical nonprofit factor that the business, like this is what they believe in. They believe in planting trees in Indonesia. We planted 1,000, by the way, at Send It Rising.
Wow.
Sure did. That was $3,000 that we invested into that. The Send It Rising forest. Check it out in Indonesia.
Mm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't that be cool? 'Cause it's almost like Google reviews. You know what I mean? There was before Google reviews and after Google reviews, and now that the community can like go in and be like, this place is great or this place is rough for these reasons. Like, where is that for major corporations? Where is that for the food I buy, the cars I buy? Like, I want that, but for like social change, and like how they treat their employees and what they're doing for a better planet. Know what I mean?
Well, you know what? There are sites out there.
Are there?
People, absolutely. People talk about that all the time. And that I remember not too long ago, someone that I had a really good experience with. And I have over 100,000 connections on my social medias.
Ooh.
And I said, I will be doing a shout out,
Mm,
and I'm not paid to do that. It's just a good thing to do. And I think people they forget that it takes much less energy to be decent
mm,
and kind and caring than it is to be a jerk.
mm.
It takes far more energy to be a real jerk or do mean and spiteful things. I mean, the energy that goes into plotting and revenge is
Oh,
stunning.
and like trying to keep the lies straight and all that nonsense. Um,
Oh, oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
love
And
everyone and tell the truth. Right? It's very simple.
well, I think telling the truth is pretty easy. Now, can you? Well, I don't think it's difficult to
It
tell the
is
truth.
for you because you've been doing it for such a long time, and I understand it too. But some people get stuck in the spiral web of lies, right? And admittedly, I've been in a spiral web of lies before. It's no fun, right? I'll never again. And then I'll find do you ever get a temptation? Maybe Judith, you're saint-like, and you've got this halo about
I'm
you.
a saint.
Um,
Who is a saint?
you know what? You are, Judith.
No,
I
no,
say it. I declare it.
no, my
Because
dog was.
what is a saint? A saint is someone. It's like this idea that there's like flawlessness, or it's like oh, we never made a mistake. Ridiculous. It's like if I'm going to design a video game, let's put our God hat on for a moment, shall we? We're going to design a universe, right, where souls go into it, and it makes them better souls. Right. Same thing with like Super Mario Brothers. Like Mario, the character he's just constantly being killed and everything's terrible and there's all these awful things around him. And that's us. Like we're Mario, or we're not Mario. We're the player. So do you see the
Mhm,
difference? And
mhm.
so yes, it is designed to be difficult on purpose. And I happen to think that loving people is the highest difficulty setting, right? Because you really have to think about them. You have to put yourself in their shoes and you have to empathize and you have to do all the things that you're talking about. But the benefits are so amazing, because when you love other people, that's what you feel back, right? A lot of the times, not always. Like the story of Job, he had the horrible things happen to him and he was a good guy. Um, but so Judith, what can
Well,
these
I,
businesses do?
well, I think they need to stop doing a lot of things that they do where they've removed the caring and kindness. My husband is a big sci-fi dude. And I remember when he hauled me off to see Star Trek, or no, Star Wars. It was the first Star Wars.
Uh-oh, the Star Trek
Uh,
people are upset right now.
oh yeah. So we get hauled off, and it starts, and the credits, when the old days they used to put all the credits and everything in the beginning.
Yeah.
So they start that reel where the words are going up in the sky, and I'm going, oh my God, do I love this? Do I love this?
Ah,
Right. So then he hauled me over to Star Trek. Okay, so that I have the philosophy of Mr. Spock. And
Oh,
Mr. Spock is for the greater good.
yeah.
And my philosophy comes that if people will stop getting their frickin' me in the way, their
Ooh.
frickin' I in the way,
Mm,
and they start thinking about, well, even though this would really benefit me the best,
mm.
versus, well, but is this for the greater good?
Ah,
Yeah, so that's where I come from.
it's so
That's
true. You know what? And I feel like look, I'm an optimist, all right?
Mhm.
And I love this notion of just really living these words, right? Living these words for the greater good, right? For the greater good. Love everyone. Tell the truth.
The greater good,
World
you know.
peace.
And if you're gonna flip with God comes the Bible and all that. There is so much contradiction in the Bible with all these different books is going everywhere. And I've always told people if you just want to settle down and calm down, why don't you go to Proverbs? Go to the book of Proverbs and read some of the Proverbs that come across, that one of mine was always, get all the advice you can and be wise the rest of your life. I mean, that's kind of like a duh.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so,
It's
um,
old school self-help. I love it. I
yeah,
really do.
you know what? I am a believer in old school self-help. I don't know, where your roller coaster ride of life has been,
Right.
but I've had a real doozy of one. I have had, two near-death experiences.
Oh, I love near-death experiences.
Okay. I've had two
Did you
children.
did you pop out of your body
Oh, 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 oh,
and
oh.
met God did the whole thing? Oh, come on. You know what I'm
Did
saying?
you
I
no,
am
let me
the
no
biggest
pop up?
fan.
Let me experience. As a kiddo, yeah, I'm older than you, but did you ever come across Casper the Friendly Ghost?
I am familiar with said friendly ghost.
Well, Casper. I was Judith the Friendly
Um,
Ghost.
yeah,
And I floated above and I watched doctors working on me and floating around, and I felt so comfortable. I felt so warm. I was so without the horrendous pain that was riveting through my body, that I was just happy to just stay there
yeah.
until shoo, back I went.
Oh no, so you didn't. All right, so you had a quick one. So
Yeah, well,
that's a quick one.
I was up there several minutes.
Oh, okay.
I
Did you
was up there several
so
minutes.
a lot
Yeah,
so the joke is that Jesus is the hardest working man in Hollywood. I'm not sure if you've heard that. The NDE community, they always talk about that because Jesus shows up a lot. And there's this one guy who had an NDE, which I think is so funny, where he's like he was in a meadow and there's like a single beautiful tree and there's these flowers and a babbling brook. And literally the thought he had was like, this is a little on the nose, like in terms of like this, this is like really stereotypical heaven we got going on here, which I think is so funny because he was a materialist, super atheist. And so for him to actually believe that he was like out of his body, that was what was presented to him, is like a really generic heavenly scenario,
no,
which is so funny.
the first time I never left the operating room.
Okay.
I stayed there, but I was watching the boys below do their thing with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Um, and doing that, but I was so comfortable. I was so warm. I was so,
Yeah.
yeah, I was, all those things. So,
You
uh,
after your NDE, did you get into the whole? Have you listened to like tons of these? Because I've listened to probably too many at
no,
this point.
you
NDE.
know what? I didn't understand what was going on.
Okay.
This was, we're talking almost 50 years ago.
Oh, that was if you popped out. Excuse me,
Yeah.
you get back into your body and they're like, are you seeing or hearing things that aren't there? And you say yes, and now you're in the psych ward. I mean, those were the ages where like thou shalt not mention the NDE, but things have changed, big time changed. And so
Mhm.
in the last like 10, 15 years, it's become like a clinical sort of like, hey, we are aware that these things happen. In the Navy, there's this whole thing where they call it seeing God because they do all this underwater training and people
Mm.
drown. consistently drown as they go through this. And they're like, did you see God? They're like, I did. And so it's like a thing. And with the internet the way it is, people are constantly talking about these near-death experiences. And my favorite thing about them is they bind all religion together, as far as I'm concerned. They bind everything together. And what they explain God to be is inexplicable, ever-growing, unconditional love that knows everything about you and is going to love you regardless. And it's this creative, loving, beautiful force. And that's what we need to focus on, is
I
how
kind of
do
like
we
that. Yeah.
become closer to that, right?
Yeah.
Like every day, more unconditional love, more unconditional love. It's this ever expanding goal, but we want that. It's like, I
Mhm.
don't want to get there, right? I want to keep getting closer to this
Mhm.
just unbelievable, like juicy love of everyone, you know. And then of course we have these moments where it's just like trial after trial after trial after trial, and it's like, can you love now? How about now? Oh, your leg hurts. Oh, what about that? Right? Oh, and your head, and oh, your son, and
Well,
you know, and you just keep loving through it.
well, I can think there's multiple things going on, especially, we have a lot of division out here now. I'm sure you'll agree with me.
Oh,
There's a
think
boatload of
just, you know
division.
what? I'm gonna say one more thing, Juice, because I love you, and I gotta say this. The left foot, okay, Democrats, my Democrat friends, I love you. Hey, Republican friends, I love you too. Left foot, right foot, left leg, right leg. You're the same body. It's the same body. The left leg is gonna have some of the love for a while. It's gonna take the responsibility. It's gonna do some things, but you don't want to sit on the left leg forever. Give it to the right leg. Let the right leg have some fun. Is it different than the left leg? Yes, it does different things. Okay, it's fine. It's like this is how you move. And so it's like when your leg doesn't have the love, it's like, relax, relax. You're supposed to love them. You're supposed to love them. And people get a pass when it comes to politics. It's like, it's love your neighbor unless, and they're convinced that they're the evil one. And both sides are the same way. They're just convinced. And I'm tired of it. You're supposed to love them.
Well, I absolutely believe there's a lot of truth in that. But here's one of the things I've had, the older I get, I'm a member of the OBC now,
What's that?
Kellen. That's the old Broads Club.
Mm,
And
I walked right into that one.
okay, so and we have opinions and things like that. I have made decisions though that I will not put my time and my energy around a lot of negativity. I don't want it in my life anymore. I'm not going to fight
Well,
it.
let me challenge you. Can I challenge you to do this? Let me ask you about this guy. So
Mhm.
Daryl, he's a black gentleman. I mentioned it because it's relevant. He goes and he hangs out with Ku Klux Klan members.
Good
And
grief. Mhm.
oh yeah, and if you made the argument you just made, which was hanging around negativity, he's literally running straight at it, like
Yes,
head
he is.
first, as negative as you can possibly imagine. And what he finds is a lot of these guys, they just never had a black friend. That's just the truth. And
Mm.
so what ends up happening is he's like, "Hey, do you want to like barbecue and like hang out, you know?" And then it's just like when people are having their NDEs and it's just pitch darkness, and then this little bead of light comes in, and that's this light of love, and it just transcends, and it's all powerful, and it comes in and it like whisks them away. And that's what he is to these people. And he has all of these Klansmen robes. Once they give him their robes, because they leave, they realize that it's just bogus, the whole clan thing, whatever. um so what do you think about that? Right, because don't you have to run towards the negativity? Am I wrong?
Sometimes it depends on, there could be extraordinary circumstances because that negativity can suck you down and take the energy that you may need to have your last breath. So let me just say that to you. You
That's fair.
have
And Daryl is like a superhero. He's like
you have to make selective choices.
yeah.
Okay. All right. We're
Our
having
other
more.
special guest to the show is Judith, someone husband, perhaps.
No, no, it's my roofer.
Oh, Judith Roofer.
My
Let's say
roofer.
send some
Yeah,
love to Judith
yeah,
Roofer real quick.
yeah. So it's very funny. Funny, you had your left foot and your right foot. My left foot is totally in a full leg brace right now.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
And I had a fluky weirdo thing, but I have what athletes go through,
oh
and
wow.
I tore the tendon and tore the quads. So, um, that it shouldn't have happened from a surgery, knee
Ah,
replacement, but it was from a very aggressive physical therapy program that should not have been in play for me.
I met
So,
I met a homeless man who was in a wheelchair for 50 years. His name's William. I love him. And
mhm,
he said God needed to slow me down.
mhm,
He said I was going too fast. Ram Dass, who had a stroke, I don't know if you know about him, Richard Alpert, he's awesome.
mhm.
He said I was stroked by God, you know.
Well, those things happen, but that also is a different attitude that comes into play.
Yep.
That's one of those healing attitudes that the people who have those attitudes, they're people who care about others, actually.
That isn't that beautiful how that works?
And so that comes out. So, there are, I know more people, as the older they get, they're starting to make some choices that they don't want to get into these argumentative battles. That
Ah,
they just don't want it in their lives anymore. You know,
right.
that
Yeah. I
we'll
just
let the younger group do that.
That's fair,
Um,
but I gotta push back a little bit on that. I'm just like, there was this guy who called me the B word in the soccer pitch, and I didn't do anything wrong, I swear to you. And I looked at him and I was like, man, and then eventually after 10 minutes of tension, he turns and says, "I'm sorry, is that what you want to hear?" And I grabbed him by his face, and we're two sweaty dudes, and I said, "I love you." I made eye contact and I said, "I love you." And then he melted. And then he's like, and then we're like great friends now. So it's like I just feel like don't we it's like I get why you wouldn't want to, right? And it's like I'm the guy saying go to the gym, right? It's the love gym. Yeah, it's like because you're gonna feel one of two pains. The pain of not going to the gym, right? Because you feel bad and whatever, or the pain of like doing the exercise. Loving people is hard. It's so hard. And sometimes you run
hard
out of
work.
juice and then yeah,
Yeah.
and you gotta like recharge your battery, whatever. But it's like I especially want the older folks to be like running around just loving everybody. I don't care like what your politics are, religion, whatever.
Well, we're running around. I remember years ago, I was sitting in a room of docs. I had stubbed my toe.
Sure.
I moved fast. I stubbed my toe, those plastic goodies underneath your desk kind of
Yeah.
thing. I was getting up, moving too fast. I stubbed my toe. I went down, I crushed my arm from the top of the right up here down to the elbow.
Sorry.
And I remember, and I had a conference I was running in 3 days, and I remember sitting in with these docs, what are we going to do with her? Kind of that. And I said, no, listen, don't treat me like I'm a geriatric patient.
Uh-huh.
I understand age-wise would start kissing me into that.
Ah,
But the odds are I can run circles around most of you in this room.
love
So,
the attitude.
yeah, here's the game. The game is get me working. You have to have me prone and functional. I realize I am now dressed as a stormtrooper. I am so wrapped up. I look like
Right.
some Star Wars stormtrooper. And I'm going to be immobile for a while this way.
Yeah.
But I said, you can get me functional because, I have to, I've got to have that real positive attitude coming in. I've got
Yeah.
to set the stage. We're running this. We're going to have a great time.
Yeah.
We're going to have fun. We're going to develop friendships. We're going to do all those things. So, but I think that there are times, though, you have to do an assessment. All of us do around to see what we're bringing in. I have a lot of, you mentioned your, the homeless,
Yeah. Yeah.
fellow. Yep, one of my clients has written two amazing books on homelessness.
Oh,
Yeah.
can you introduce me? I'm like totally synced up in that world, and that would be cool to meet
Pat,
that person.
Pat
Yep.
Morgan is her name. I
Yep.
have another very close friend that came over to America like at 16, 17. She was in the Hungarian Revolution. She is an ace at making Molotov cocktails.
Oh,
But she was broke. I mean, she had nothing.
yep.
Eisenhower had signed some kind of a truce, and he was still general, or maybe he'd moved into being president. I can't remember the time frame here.
Yep.
But she wrote a letter to him saying, if you will let me come to America, because they were shipping all the young girls down to Australia.
All right.
I said, if you will let me come to America, I will make a difference. And
Ooh.
he let her come. And she had like $10 when she came. She lived on the streets of New York for 6 months. She later rose to become the first female vice president at Citibank.
Whoa.
She is an amazing, she negotiated herself out of a firing line when she was 15.
Yo.
And you talk about the connection. So let's go back to the connecting, and all of a sudden coming your friend who came face to face with the KKK dude
Yeah.
and say,
Not
oh,
my
maybe,
friend, but yeah.
yeah, well, okay, whoever it was, but
Yeah.
maybe we'll do a barbecue.
Right.
That she, she's just that amazing person, and she's still to this day, and she is in her very late 70s.
Mm,
She still this day, she goes out during the Thanksgiving weekend run, and she will take homeless into McDonald's, and she will gauge how they get to eat, because she won't let them wolf it down so they're sick.
sure.
Um, but Nicole still does that kind of thing. But it's out there. But going back to, sometimes you have to say, okay, we all have our own wills too, and we have to refill them.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I stopped doing a lot of mastermind work, because, and it's, kind of like supposed to be a universal, we get to pick each other's brains and we can support each other and we can do all these things. This is a very common business thing. I
Mm,
stopped doing a lot of that because my brain was getting pretty drained,
oh, fair.
and I wasn't getting anything to refuel it. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't coming back. So I think love goes two ways. Sometimes it has splinter routes.
Well, and you gotta include yourself, right?
And,
Because
and,
are you
and
really,
and
yeah, are you really loving
absolutely.
people if you're toast, if you're just done and you just can't
Yep.
anymore? It's like
Yep.
I think that the answer is you're not. You're not really. Like if you're just dead and you're
Yeah.
trying to keep this sort of like facade, because this is the whole thing. It's love everyone and tell the truth. Right. So if you're sitting there
Yes.
and people are like, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "I'm fine. I'm fine." It's like, no, you're just
No,
lying to
you're
yourself.
not. You look
You're not
horrible.
it's terrible. Things are bad. You don't feel good. You're unrested. You're sweating.
My
Uh,
God, Helen, you sound like a conversation I just had with my writing partner, that we write these novels together. And I'm just saying, so when have you talked to the doctor? And
yeah.
he says, well, I've got this appointment. They haven't called this, and this. And I said, if you can't, you got to care enough about you to be your own advocate. I'm sorry.
Oh,
But, or you've got a partner there called a wife. She should be your advocate. I mean, I've been more people's advocates because I'm not afraid to speak up and speak out and push forward. I mean, when friends are having really, there was a big, mother boundary problem. And I said, so do you want me to come over and be the shit stirrer? What do you want me to do? Do you want
mm,
me to come over and be there to try to help a bridge? Because it is about bridging. A lot of this stuff is about bridging,
yeah.
um, and going on. So I kind of liked what I heard the Tim Walsh say the other night. It doesn't matter where you come from, they're your neighbor.
Oh,
And
thank you. I thank you. It's like, look,
he
uh,
he he was amazing. And he talked about, he lived in a little town of 400 people.
mhm,
And we didn't all agree at all, but
yeah.
they're my neighbor. And if they need help, by gosh, I'm there to help them.
Yep.
And I think that we all need to think and get a lot of the me out of our stuff. We need to really kind of squelch our egos and come down to say, okay, because if you make it a better place, I do believe in the reciprocal. It does come back to you.
Yeah. It does. And these thoughts that we have, they're things. Okay. And my big, I want people to understand is, it's this old Bhagavad Gita Hindu thing, which
Mhm.
is with when thoughts enter my head, right? And I have nothing to do with them. I swear to you. I just sit there. I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting there and this thought ping, pops into my head. It's like wind. It's like, did I create the wind? No. No, I did not. Wind is happening to me. These thoughts are happening to me. Now, like breathing, I can choose like Kellen, take 4 inhales. I'll take 4 inhales, right? But many of these thoughts, they just appear. And so I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna actively reject the bad ones because they pop into my head and I'm like, no, no, that's not me. Because I'm a loving guy, right? But anxiety, nervousness,
Mhm.
prejudice, like all these little like nasty little things, these little demons popping around my brain. I'm like, that is not me. I'm actively rejecting them, right? And it's like magnets, right? If you got the two negatives, they pull apart from each other, right? So as we push away from negativity and go no and no, it pushes us towards positivity. Like we eventually find and then snap and then it snaps together. And I feel like I don't know how your brain works, but my brain is like it is just on rapid fire negativity. Like so it just really loves to do that. To
No,
yeah.
thank
Oh
you. I don't
God.
have that one.
Oh, hey, yeah, my dude, I got something called the Couts mania. My last name's Kautzman, so I got this Couts mania disease. It's a joke. But the point is that like my brother, it's like genetic, right? We just have this thing. But anyway, point is that people who have near-death experiences, they describe the impact, the true impact that they have on the world is
Mhm.
it's what Jesus, one of the things Jesus talked about is like, don't lay your treasures up where moth and rust doth corrupt, right? Which would be anything that's material, right? Material things like it's all going away, man. And what stays is in this crazy thing. Have you heard of the Akashic Records?
Mhm.
I love the Akashic Records. So for people who don't know who are listening, the Akashic Records, there will be people who die and they don't even know what they're describing. They'll be like, "Yeah, like I went to this place and like there's like tons and tons of books and it's sort of like what are those like white like marble looking things?" And then the host will be like Roman Colosseums. They're like, "Yeah, it's got that on the back and on the outside of it." And then they go in and like there's these people that work there and inside there's these books and the books have like entire lives in them and you can like see the history of everything and and I'm like, yeah, that's your treasure. Your treasure is literally your life and the way and the love that you express and share and the sacrifice you make and the pain you're willing to go through and overcome in order to give other people a better life. That's what we're doing here. Like,
Well, I think that anything any of us can do to they need to realize this when you make it easier for other people, and I'm not talking about giving all this giving away. I'm
sure.
talking about when you ease things. I've always said this. It is not money that makes the world go round. It is problems. We all have problems. All of us have problems. So when I work with authors, coming back to some of the stuff that I do, when
Yeah.
I work with authors, I always ask, what is your reader's problem?
Oh, that's a, you know what? I'll give you that one. I'll
Oh,
give you.
thank you. So
Yeah.
what can you do with your words, your creativity, your solution solving, your out of the world storytelling?
Mhm.
What can you do with one of these skills that are, at play to ease their pain? And
Yep.
it's a different way to do it. And it could be, well, I'm going to deliver 30 hours of awesome storytelling, you know, in Old Earth or something. Okay, that's fine. We can do that.
Hey
Uh,
Judith, we lost your video. I don't know why. There you
I There we
are.
go.
I love that
And
because it's service. You're talking about service, right? It's like, look,
so I
get out of
believe in
your own head and help them. Help
I
them.
b- I believe in service.
I love
And that but finding out what is the problem? Is it a real problem? And I think it's really important for people to understand that what may be a problem for me may be for them nothing. And what's a humongous burden for them, I'm going, oh, really, people get over it.
that's
All
what
right.
just
So
happened between you and I, where I talked about my brain, and you're like, I don't have that.
I don't have that.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking, okay, which way can we go? What we can do? I am, but was I always that way? Okay. I had a brain injury years ago.
Oh wow.
I was speaking to 5,000 dentists in Vancouver. I
What?
had just finished speaking.
Whoa.
We were closing, our little table of books up and stuff, and we were going to stay over. John and I were going to stay over a couple of days because I'd always wanted to have high tea in Victoria.
Oh.
So we had planned that, and I wanted to see the Busher Gardens. Okay,
Oh,
I love gardens.
you know what?
So we
Sounds
had planned, we did that, and as I'm walking along, all of a sudden, I'm not walking, I am flat on my back.
like, uh-oh.
I stepped in a gob of either vanilla ice cream or yogurt,
What? Oh
and
no, you fell hard.
I fell hard,
Oh,
rattled my brain.
okay.
I used to be a math whiz.
No way. You lost your math?
I lost all of it.
Your math went away?
I can't outbalance the checkbook.
Math fell out of your head.
Mouth went. But
Whoa.
but with that, what the door that came in,
Uh,
it was like that heavy duty analytical. I mean, I could see a whole sheet of numbers and say, this is the ad, this is what you're gonna do. Gone, just gone.
Interesting. Why did
And
why did God do that? Like why what's
oh,
that, you know what I mean? Like
oh,
where did that like
oh, because now I'm doing what I do.
it's all like word.
Because I could talk to people and I could start visualizing what their book looks like,
Oh
how
yeah.
the interior is supposed to spread and lay out,
Interesting.
what
Yeah.
goes on. I could see how the words could start going together. Now,
Mm,
I always encourage people to write. I would refer them to my agents and all of that. And I always tried to help them. I was, the ultimate encourager for
yeah.
that. But I never thought that that would become my vocation.
Can I
Um,
ghostwrite for your stuff? Do you know how good I am at this skill? I got to tell you about this. So I use ChatGPT 3.5 to write this book, just entirely robotic, right? Because I just wanted to know, can it be done? What does it look like? And so I did.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, oh, it definitely can. And so I'm working like there's this guy, I won't mention his name because I don't know if he wants it publicly, but he's got this amazing idea to take distressed NFTs. Do you know about NFTs? They're these little
Mhm.
digital assets, and turn them into like a security, right? So basically turn them into like something you can buy and sell and trade because right now they have almost no value. And before you go like, oh, that seems stupid, people are making millions and millions of dollars off of memes right now in crypto memes, right?
It's
So like
really, yeah.
forget it. So like this is way more interesting. Distressed NFTs actually have like a physical, like there's a I shouldn't even say physical, but they're a more material sort of
Hey, May, I was interested in some of the NFTs,
yeah.
but that I sometimes I have the scroll factor, like, oh, what's that over there I can go play with?
Oh yeah, I
Um,
mean,
all right, so and I just have like 3 more minutes
yeah,
here
no,
and
you got to roll. So
I've been to jump
three
ship, but
minutes left, Judith. There's like a million things. I'm gonna let you talk. I'm gonna shut my mouth. Go
okay.
ahead.
But what I want to say is that besides the roofers are still blowing out there, that
We can't hear.
that I lost this, heavy duty fabulous. I loved math. Oh my God, did I love math? Um, but I also love words, and words matter. Words matter so much. How we say things, how we tone with them, how we construe them, how we can kiss and make things well, how we can heal, how we can reach out. So, what I do is I don't use anything AI, period, because I love so much constructing the words and bringing them together and working them with my client. And I can say to you, how does this feel? Does this feel right? Does this sound like you? That's how I work. And everyone works differently, for sure.
Yes, it's like it has blown my mind in ways that I can't possibly express in the next minute, right? It is like the
Mhm.
magic, the genie has come out of the lamp for me. Like my entire, because I own a digital marketing agency, nothing will ever be the same. It is completely different now, and
And
it's
I agree
so
with
much
that.
fun and
It
so cool.
Things have
Yeah.
flipped. There's so many things to do. But, for as someone, for example, for a landscape artist or any artist, that just loves the texture of their watercolors, right? It's the feel, it's all that. So I like that with words. And I
Hey,
love with the
God,
creation
God
of
bless.
books.
Dude, they are so
So
people don't understand that seriously. Like for example, Final thing I'll say is people
Mhm.
don't understand negatives. This is an old Simon Sinek quote. So he's like, don't think of a pink elephant. Don't think of one. Don't think of a big old pink elephant with like rainbow wings. And of course, everyone's thinking about a pink elephant with rainbow wings because
Mhm.
the difference between I don't hate you and I love you are very different. And people miss that all the time. And so it's like if that's one thing you can take away from this conversation, I'm telling you, people, like speak in the affirmative when possible, because it like if we talk about it, it's like, well, it wasn't my favorite thing. That's much different than I hated it. Very different.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's also really important as we close up here,
Yeah.
is to express to people if something displeases you,
Hmm.
well, don't go off in the corner and sulk. It displeases you. How about sharing why it does? How does it make you feel? The sense, what can you do to work this out? I mean, I think we'll all agree there's some people who are just real toads out there. And I could use a much stronger language, right? And you may not want to choose to spend all your spare time or any spare time with them, but you can recognize they're there, whatever brings them to the party or whatever. And realize that there's some ways that you can find the bridge, but it's the neighbor thing. And I say, one of my guides is, what's the greater good here? What can we do to enhance the greater good? That's what I'm
God
after.
bless you. Can you pronounce your full name for the folks?
You bet. I'm Judith Briles. You can find me at thebookshepherd.com, and you can find out about my books at Judith Briles, and that's Briles.com.
Did you say
Books.
Judith Briles, Judith space Briles? Judith, is that what you said?
That is me, and my website is the Book Shepherd with no spaces.com or
Oh,
judithbrilesbooks.com. No
oh,
space.
JudithBrilesBooks.com and the Book Shepherd, spelled
Yes,
Sheppherd. Is that what you said?
I did.
I just wanted to clarify because my hearing, I just want to make sure I heard you
Yeah.
correctly.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And I'm just gonna say, and then I'm jumping ship because I'm doing
Goodbye.
a
Go.
webinar.
Yeah.
This is the book. This is the book, Kellum, I wish I had 40 years ago when I started writing.
The Author's Walk
That's right. And it's finding and using your voice.
to Create Publishing Success. The Author's Walk, finding and using your voice to create.
And it's the book I have, and it's very different. It's not it this is not my, I mean, I've written 47 books. This is not my house.
Oh.
I know,
Did
ugh.
you know, Judith, that every time someone purchases and reads that book, an angel gets its wings?
Oh, well, I'm gonna push that one.
I'm just saying. I don't know if you knew that or not, but
I'm so excited.
I'm just, I'm called to tell you that. Who loves Judith? Everyone loves Judith. Thank you so much for swinging by the show. We appreciate you. Why don't you go do your webinar? Spread some
I
love
will.
around.
Thank you.
All right. See you later. Bye bye. Bye everybody.